This is Olajide from CTF Security and welcome to another video. In today's video, we have special mission at hand. Natasha Drew really wants to go to Hackers Camp, but there's just one problem. Our grades aren't good enough. So we want to see if we can hack into the OSUSEC student portal and give her all A's in our courses. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome back to today's video. Now there's quite a number of things that we can do on this portal. The very first one is try to enter some default credential and see if that is going to give us access to this machine. So the very first thing we want to do is try to enter admin as the username and password, and we can try to authenticate. And we get username/password combination is invalid. We can as well try admin and password. And yet again, we get username/password combination is invalid. Now, I can begin to think, what are the kind of vulnerability I could possibly find on a login portal? And the very first thing that will come to my mind is two things. One, I can either brute force the username and password to see if there's any rate limiting in place on this application, or I could try some couple of vulnerability check on this login portal. What we can do is to try the SQL injection payload on both the username and password parameter here. Now, first of all, we need to take a look at how this username and password parameter are being structured. And one easy way to do that is to take a look at it from the Bob suite. So I can actually go to Bob suite. You can see that this is our target, and I can add this to scope, then go to proxy. We can go to HTTP history, and then we can filter this to only show in scope item. Now you can see some possible passwords that we've tried, the admin and the password as the password. We have a structure of how our parameter is. Now all we can do is to inject our payload inside this parameter as the value. What we can do is go back to the application and we can try some couple of payload. Now, since we know that we need username and password for us to be able to authenticate, then we can begin to imagine how the backend query will possibly look like for the authentication. Now, I'm just going to suggest a possible SQL query that might be used as the backend query. So what we can do is to try to guess that. One easy way is to say, okay, we could possibly have select everything from the users table, and we could have select everything from users where username is equals to and password is equals to this. Okay, so we can add and here. So we have select everything from user. So we're saying select all columns from users where username equals to whatever value is being inserted into the username parameter, and password equals to whatever value will be inserted into the password parameter. So in our case, if we enter username equals to admin and password equals to password. So let's just repeat this query. The admin will get inserted here, and the password will get inserted here. for us to be able to authenticate. So what we can do is to drop our payload in here and possibly see if that could bypass the authentication check. So the very first payload I want to do is, if we're having this, so let's use a single quote so that we'll not have any mix-up. So let's say we have it to be single quote, and this one also single quote, another single quote. Yeah. So let's say we are using a payload, and our first payload is going to be, we want to close the previous quotation, and then possibly we want to use the OR statement, which is a logical OR, and we want to actually supply a condition that always evaluates to true, maybe 1 plus 1, or 1 equals to 1, or 2 equals to 2, and then we could comment out other section of the query, so which is something like this. So if we repeat this query here, so I'm going to copy this and insert it here, and we're going to see what is going to happen. So if we insert it here, so what is going to happen is the first quotation which we enter here is going to close out the initial quote which we have, and then we're going to use a conditional statement which check if either this or this is correct. So if we're using OR, if any of this statement is correct, the queries will actually be executed. So if we check this, this might not be a possible username in the database, but 1 equals to 1 always evaluates to true. So the condition is treated as true. This is a comment in SQL. So what this is going to do is to comment everything after this particular comment symbol that we have here. So what this is going to do is it's going to nullify the entire password field. So it doesn't care whatever we enter as our password value. So regardless of any value we enter into the password parameter, we'll still get authenticated. So let's try to see how that is going to work. So we're going to move that into our login panel, and we're just going to enter random 11111111111, and we try to log in. And you can see that we've successfully bypassed the login page or the login panel of this OSUSEC login portal. Now, what we are presented with here is the OSUSEC student names. We have 3 courses, which is the English, the science, and the math, and we have the individual score on each column, or on each row, I beg your pardon. So we have Breath Nancy, who score A in English and science, and A in maths. We have students like Rosa Siraj, who score C in English, A in science, and A in math. So if you take a look at our objective for the video, let's just refresh on the second browser here. So this is my Firefox. We're previously using the Chrome. I just want to see what we have. So we want to help Natasha Drew to gain access by changing our grade to all A's. So if you check, I don't think we have, sorry about that, I don't think we have Natasha here. We could try and find Control F. So we do not really have Natasha on the page, but possibly we have Natasha on the database. So what we can do is, if we're able to see how each of these students are being referenced in the database, we might be able to locate the Natasha ID also. So what we can do is right click here and try to inspect what we have. Okay, so let's see, can we pick up maybe Brett Nancy? And you can see that under the bread Nancy, we have a table here, which takes this property here, this attribute, I beg your pardon, data ID, with one random value, which looks like an X value. Okay, I don't think it's an X. We have JY right here. We have Z. So this might probably be an encoding. And we have a class to be student link. And we have the name Brett Nancy. So we might be able to see what this data ID is talking about. So in order to do that, we need to bring that here. So let's put it here and say this is the authentication bypass. Okay, so we discovered can we copy this? Okay, so we have the TD, which is the table data, we have the attribute to be data ID, and we have this value here. So we could possibly see what this is, and I can try to check so we could possibly see echo this and then pipe it into this 64 and we decode. You can see that when we do this, this gets decoded to Nancy Brett, which happened to be the first person on the student name. So we have the Brett Nancy. So we have a structure for this. So what we can possibly do here is we can try to inspect the structure we just discovered, which is the Nancy Brett. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly. So this is the structure that we have. We could possibly do that here. So we could be having this structure, possibly Nancy. Okay, it's Natasha underscore Drew, or we'll be having Drew underscore Natasha. So we're unsure yet, but let's inspect further what we have here. We might want to go into the source and try to reload the page. So we discovered that we have the asset.js, and when you try to open this, you are presented with the app.min.js, and this happens to be a script. And let's see what this script is actually doing. First of all, we have a function which is taking as an object name as parameter. Then we are setting up the link equals to the function, and then we're doing a conditional check if the s, so I'm thinking this s is used to denote session. So if the s.admin, meaning if this condition is true, this is going to be executed. And if you take a look at what is going to be executed, if the s.admin is equals to true, we have the var, which is variable sal equals to document.getElement student link, which is each of the student link. For example, we got the, if you go back here, you can see that the class name is student link currently here. So if we go back to the script, we also have a conditional loop which initiates I equals to 0 with a condition of I is less than the SL, which is a variable declare here.length, which is the length of the SL. Then it's going to increment. Then let name equals to SL, the inner.html. Then we're going to set pointer. We're going to do .add event listener click. So what this is trying to say is we might possibly be able to activate the pointer and the click event if our session s.admin is equals to true before this particular part of the code can be evaluated. But currently, if you take a look at who we are logged in as, we are logged in as Rhonda.Daniels, which is not .admin. So what we can do is try to use our console to possibly verify. So we can do s.admin. Can we do that? I think we can. But first, we need to pause this. So what I can do is to add a breaker here. So we're going to just set up a breaker. And then, let's see. Can we just pause right there? Right click. Okay, we have our breakpoint already. And we can pause. So let's go back and resend that. We still have the same issue. What is really the problem? So let's remove this again. So what I'm trying to do here is I want to pause the script at this point so that we'll be able to execute the value of our session first before it gets to checking of if the s.admin is equals to true. So we can try to remove every breakpoint that we have, and we can try to add a new breakpoint. And when we do this, we can try to refresh first. Okay, good. So we've paused on breakpoint. Now we can check s.admin and try to see. So you can currently see that our s.admin is set to false. So we might possibly see, can we actually set our s.admin equals to true so that this particular section of the code can get executed, so that we'll be able to click, sorry about that, so that we'll be able to click on each student name, because that is what exactly this part of the code is doing. So let's go back to the console. So we could possibly do s.admin equals to true. We'll see. So you can currently see that our s.admin is currently set to true. Now if I use the s.admin, you see our value is true. So now this section of the code will be able to execute. So I can scroll, just bring this down a bit. And let's go to our script. I beg your pardon. Let's go to our debugger and we can resume script execution. Now, if you go here, you can see that our pointer is activated. So we can just click on any of this. So let's go with this one, for example. No, I want to go with the Castillo. So I'm going to click. So you can see that we've gotten to the management section where we can modify grade of each student here. So for this particular student, Castillo Cody, he or she has English to be B, the science to be C, and math to be C as well. So what we can do is take a look at what we have above on the URL here. So we have the target, which is the labid.ctf.hacker101.com/update-student, and we have this random value which also looks like a base 64. So what I can do is grab this and let's try to decode it. I'm going to go back to my terminal and we can do echo this, and we're going to pipe it into base 64-D to decode this, and you can still see we have the Cody_Castillo. So we still have the same format with what we have initially. Now what we can do is take Natasha. I think we have this one. So I can take Natasha underscore Drew, and we can possibly do echo dash n, and then we can use the Natasha underscore Drew. Then we can pipe it into base 64 and we get this equivalent. So I'm going to copy this and just put it right here. So we can also do for Drew underscore Natasha, because we're unsure yet. So let's remove this one. And we got this one. Okay, so let's try this first. I'm going to grab this and we're going to go to the URL. I'm going to modify this particular user, which is the Castillo Cody. I'm going to remove this student ID and I'm going to paste the one for the Natasha underscore Drew. And this is expected to take us to the Natasha Drew page. So of course you see we have the Drew Natasha, and you can see she currently scored F in English, F in science, and E in math. And of course, because we have access to this account now, we can possibly modify this. So it's still loading, just give it some time. Okay, so I think the issue we have here is the debugger is being paused, so we can actually click resume, and from here we could modify the grade. So we're expected to give Natasha Drew A in English, A in science, and A in math, and we can update the record. Okay, so as you can see, we have successfully got the flag. So I can grab this. Let's resume. So we have awesome. Natasha has got top mark and can now attend ACAS camp. And we can grab our flag here. You can see the current grade of Natasha. So guys, that will be all in this video. If you've learned one or two things from this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you in the next video.